Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish.
And you might be wondering why we're wearing all black.
And have heavier makeup on.
We're going to an emo night.
Yeah, Emo Night is happening. We are excited. We don't really have emo clothes anymore, though, so that's kind of a problem. But
I know. So we're definitely, I don't know, it's kind of like a... And we don't know what the vibe's going to be, so we don't want to, like, overdo it, but I feel like wearing black is...
It's safe.
Yes.
And skinny jeans. We both have skinny jeans on. So that'll be at least, we'll have, like, the bottom part of us, and our heads will be fine. So,
just the middle.
The middle. And we don't know the place that we're going to. We don't know what the vibe is going to be. We're optimistic, though.
Know.
But it could be weird. It could be weird. I feel like they said... Was it one of the founding members of Taking Back Sunday?
Yes.
That's gonna be kind of cool.
I know, and I guess he's not in the band anymore. Yeah. From what I read, but that's still cool. He's like the MC or something.
Were you a Taking Back Sunday fan?
I make damn sure
like the main song that they. Yeah, I wasn't one. Like I knew who they were and stuff, and but I didn't like.
I wasn't like crazy about them. But like with their songs were on, it was fine.
Yeah, I like their music is fine. I just wasn't a huge fan.
Them. No.
Yeah.
I feel like there was like, or they were popular with people that were just like a slightly older than us.
Yeah, I agree.
Where we got more like the Fall Out Boy
and like Mayday Parade.
Yeah,
and, like,
Chemical Romance.
Yeah,
and stuff, so.
So we'll see. We'll see if we can make some content.
I know we're going to try. Maybe we'll make like a mini vlog.
Yeah, like a mini one. We'll see how this night goes. I don't know if you can see in the camera. I don't know if I think our angle might be up a little higher, but we have a line of shots down here.
So we're like pre-gaming.
We already took one that you guys, we have a little footage of. But yeah, this is our... one of our like few nights out together besides like partying and like high school and
back
college.
in the day.
That doesn't really count.
We've been like older and like since I've had kids, I mean, we don't really get to do this, but it's kind of like working out. Like my husband works really, really late tonight. So my kids are with my mother. And I don't know.
We're let loose.
We're letting loose. This is weird.
Who knows where the night will take us.
Hopefully so we're good like it used to. Anywho.
Oh, funny. So yeah, that'll be our evening. We're excited. We're recording the pod a little bit early.
Yes.
Oh, should we talk about our change in schedule? So I know some of you might be disappointed to hear this news.
But you won't have us on the Wednesday morning commute anymore after this episode. Yeah. So this episode will still be coming out on Wednesday.
Yep. But then our next episode will not be, I think it was November 1st, right? It'll be November 3rd. We're moving to Fridays. So make sure you mark your calendars. We'll still be coming out Friday mornings in the morning time. But yeah, we're switching.
I know. I think it'll just work better for our schedules and like, we have run into a lot of editing issues, so
hopefully we can get more of a crowd. I feel like there's a lot of podcasts that come out on Wednesday, and maybe ours gets lost in the mix a little bit.
Yeah, and I know, I was thinking too, like we didn't talk about obviously all the horrible things that are going on in the world right now, so maybe people just weren't like wanting to listen.
Yeah, it's just... It's so hard because actually Spencer Pratt said this because somebody mentioned that on his Snapchat, and he's like, listen, I'm aware of all the things that are going on, but like my content is not about that.
Right.
Like my content is more lighthearted, feel good, funny, whatever. And I feel that's kind of what ours is too. Like we don't really talk about a lot of political or worldly stuff. It's very much more surface level.
Well, it's like you get so much of that all the time. It's like, does anyone really want our opinion on it?
Probably not. No.
And I want to talk about fun things. It's like, I want to talk about that kind of stuff with people I'm really comfortable with.
Right.
And
yeah, and like you said, nobody really is asking for our opinion on. So I don't feel like I need to shove that down anyone's throat. But yeah, I agree. Hopefully move into Friday. Everybody's ready for the weekend. They want to listen to some reality recap and some random stuff. Yeah. So yeah, look out for that.
Change,
yes. Hopefully no one's too disappointed. But if you are, please leave a comment and let us know.
Let us know what day works best for you. We will put it out that day.
The one thing, okay, so we kind of talked about this because I picked Hannah up and we were talking about this on the car ride over, but I did a trunk or treat today with this organization that I work with. And today there was a farmer's market that did trick or treat. And then right after that was the trunk or treat. And then we have our city's trick or treat. They have stuff at schools. They do stuff at nursing homes. And it is just getting excessive, in my opinion.
I know. And it's just like, how much candy, like free candy, do you need?
Right.
You know, and it's like, and I get like you want to take the kids out to do like different holiday stuff. But I mean, take them to a fall fest or something.
Yeah, or even for a kid, do they want to get dressed up like 4 times?
I know.
And I'm guessing people don't have different costumes for that.
Maybe some do.
Maybe some do.
But still, it's just like, I don't know. It just seems excessive.
Yeah. And I hate to sound like such an oldie, but the manners were not very good. I mean, when we would trick or treat, like, you literally had to say trick or treat, or else you weren't getting candy.
Sometimes you had to do like a little like stand on one leg.
Like do something at some houses. And if you didn't say thank you, like houses would call you out.
Right.
Like they would say something, or if their house didn't, your parent that was with you would like literally ream you.
It's like, don't expect this candy for free. Yeah. Like, I know.
But it's almost like sad because these kids, I think part of it is social skills, though, too. There were so many where I was like, oh, my gosh, you're a little Wednesday. Or, wow, like you dyed your hair green. That's so cool. And they just looked at me like they wouldn't even speak.
Like stranger danger.
Yeah. I'm like, what is going on?
I know. That is interesting.
When the parent, too, will be like, oh, thank you. Like, no, make your kids say thank you. What is going on?
Like, they're just too scared.
Like, no, they're not.
I know.
So that was my, like, elder moment here.
Like, what's going on?
And I'm so, like, such a fake person because with kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at you. And then, like, 2 seconds later, I'm like, oh my God.
Here we go again.
Yeah, like
another zombie.
Let me paint my face on of happiness.
Like, I'm so happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I do feel like trick or treat because, like, passing out candy, I guess, not really trick or treating because my kids just haven't gone trick or treating yet. It does feel like it's getting more awkward. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird. It's like, I don't know. They just like come up, and I mean, the past couple times I haven't even. Or I think the past couple times I didn't even we didn't put candy in their
you
bag.
put it, well, because of COVID and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, why did we not
I'm like, we're just sitting in the corner with a bowl of candy, just like,
dressed up.
With a megaphone.
Take one.
But it does, I don't know, it does feel like awkward. I don't know.
It never felt like that.
No.
And I think the kids make it a little more awkward when they're looking at you like a deer in the headlights.
Literally.
Like when they don't even say trick or treat or thank you, they just hold their little basket out. It's like,
walk away.
Okay.
Tail swishing.
Yeah. Away. Or they're in an inflatable. So they're like...
But
yeah, I mean, I wish that we did more stuff for Halloween. I wish that there were like fun Halloween parties.
I know. And I guess we were not really looking for them either.
No, we're not. But the one that we looked at by you, it was like $30, wasn't it? And we're like,
yeah, I'm like, I'm not paying them. I don't know.
We don't even know if it's going to be good.
Right. And then to pay $30.
Yeah.
I know that's not a lot, but like.
And they said drink tickets were extra. So what exactly am I paying for?
I know, just a walk-in.
Yeah.
After I bought my costume.
Right. After I already paid like $70 for the costume. Literally. Oh, we decided our Halloween costumes.
We did.
We are going back to our roots, and we are going to be Paris and Nicole, a la The Simple Life.
We are. So we're going to, do we decide, are we doing wigs or are we just doing our hair?
I feel like we should just do our hair.
Okay.
Because, like, the wig probably isn't going to end up looking good.
It's going to look like a wig.
Yeah. So let's just do our hair. The outfit I got, because I'm going to be Paris in this situation and Hannah's going to be Nicole. And the outfit I got is from Shein, so I'm a little scared.
It's a good idea to get it from there.
Yeah, but I think I probably should have gone a size bigger on the skirt. It hasn't arrived yet because I just ordered it a couple days ago. But I think I should have gotten a size bigger, so we will see about that one. But hopefully it turns out cute.
I know, at least for a cute picture, maybe.
Yeah.
But we will be dressed up on the podcast.
Yes, we are going to, as long as everything looks okay. Well, actually, if we sit here or on your couch, then hopefully you won't see too much of us. We might have to stand for this podcast. But yeah, so that'll be good. We didn't have a lot of our listeners give us any suggestions for costumes, so we were kind of...
Would you believe not one?
We were floating alone on that one.
So this is what you get then.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, speaking of... I went of scary movies and scary Halloween stuff. I went and saw Saw X or Saw 10 with my dad earlier this morning. And it was good. It was so much different than the other Saw movies.
Really?
It was like a backstory, but not like his full, like John Kramer, not his full backstory, but like a big part of it. And it was like, basically, I think this isn't like giving anything away, but he goes to get this like cancer treatment from this place, and they basically like completely scam him.
Oh my gosh.
And so he gets like revenge, or well, I shouldn't say revenge, but he makes them like play the Saw game. But it was really good. And I feel like it was a lot more plot driven than just like, which that's what I always kind of liked about the Saw movies in general. And I know they get a little convoluted in there, you know, like 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
But I did always like that there was always still like plot in these scary movies. And I just feel like the older I'm getting, the more I
appreciate that.
Yeah, that type of a scary movie. And like, yeah, it's fun to have like a slasher movie. Like I was just watching Totally Killer. I haven't finished it yet. And that was like fun. But even that was kind of like a backstory and like... or even like The Lodge and stuff, or like a Hereditary.
Yeah.
Just something more like that versus just these weird, disturbing, like,
how scared movies. Can I make it? All the jump scares.
Yeah. And it's like nice to actually have like, because I didn't get to finish it, but The Black Phone. And I just liked that there was like emotion in it versus just like this creepy movie.
Right.
I don't know, the older I get, But yeah, that's what I liked about the Saw movies. And me and my dad used to go see them in theaters all the time. So we're like, we have to go see this one.
That's fun. Have you seen all the other ones?
And the only one I haven't seen is Spiral, which is like the Chris Rock one.
Okay. I didn't even realize that there were 10 of them.
No.
Because I think I watched, how many did we watch? Back in the day, we did a marathon of
I know. It was probably like the first
exhausting.
4 or first 3.
I think those are the only ones that I've seen.
I know. The rest of them, I mean, I think it's Saw 6. There's like a cool one where it's like this insurance agent guy. And he has to like, maybe it's not Saw 6. I think it is. Anyway.
They all run together a little bit.
He has to like pick, like based, you know, like on the insurance people, it's like if it's an old lady with diabetes or like a middle-aged lady with diabetes,
like the risk.
Like the night. It's like, who are you going to pick? The older woman with diabetes who has a family, or the young single guy who doesn't really have anything to lose? And there's like a big part of that. I don't mind that one, but it definitely, I don't know. I guess like the Hoffman storyline kind of drags out a little too long, but
I did like that with this earlier Saw films where it was like a twist.
Yeah, and like the moral dilemmas, like especially in 3 where it's that guy whose kid got like hit by a car, and then he's got to like try to save kind of all the people who were a part of that, and then it gets to the end and it's the actual guy that hit his kid. And then the whole time the wife was the doctor.
Oh my gosh.
Like that was so good. I think that was still when James Wan was like a big part of it.
Are they streaming? Like what are they on? I'd like to watch them again.
I think some of them are on Hulu.
I'll have to look.
I know. I don't know if all of them were, but I think like the first 3 were.
They should be because of Halloween.
I know.
I started watching on Netflix The Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh yeah. And that's by the Hill House guy.
Yeah, and they used a lot of the same people. Cast. Yeah, which I kind of like when they do that.
I think like with American Horror Story and stuff when they would do that, I'm like that's just kind of fun because it's like get a new story every time, but you get to have the same good people.
I know. It makes you more invested, kind of. But I just started it last night, and I'm like, oh, this will be kind of creepy. And it was, but then I fell asleep, so obviously it wasn't so scary that I couldn't stay awake. And then I woke up at like a scary part, and I just awoke, and I was like, okay, I definitely missed some stuff. I think it's time for me to go to bed. And I was telling somebody about this at the trunk or treat, not a child, an adult that I was with. And they're like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't even be able to sleep. I'm like, no, I literally fell asleep. Right? So I think I need to go back a little bit. It started out pretty good. I guess it's based off of a short story, which I didn't know.
I heard that, yeah.
I don't think I've ever read that story before, but I guess the story's a little bit different than the show, or is it? I think it's a show, right? Or is it a movie? It's like the other ones,
mini series.
Yeah,
I guess you'd call it. Man, The Haunting of Hill House was.
Oh my gosh, that was good. What was the other one then? What was the other one called?
Bly Manor.
Oh yes,
Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah, Haunting of Bly Manor.
That one was good too, but I think because of Hill House being so good.
Yeah, Hill House was amazing.
Then it fell a little short, but it was just a completely different story.
I know. Hill House actually freaked me out.
It was scary. The freaking ghosts in the background. Just the whole story was so good. It was I would honestly say is one of the best shows I've ever watched.
For a show. Yeah, especially of that category.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you watch these scary series. I mean, American Horror Story is a perfect example.
Right.
Where they just fall flat.
And they do.
But this did not.
No, it was so good. The cast was great. Their family drama.
I loved the sibling element was so good, how it was intertwined in that way too.
In that one episode where it was a continuous shot when they're in the funeral home. Oh, that seriously, it gives you the freaking heebie-jeebies.
I know, I literally got chills when you said the funeral home.
That show was definitely spooky. Yeah. Or I'd be watching it and not be spooked, but when I was laying in bed as a full-blown mother adult in bed
or even because I'm in my apartment by myself and it's you're watching TV and then it's you just look over toward the door or into my dark kitchen and I'm
spooked out. Yeah, that show. Oh gosh, that show is.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, Bly Manor was okay.
Yeah, it was good. I know. That's what I would always tell people if they're like, "Oh, is it good?" I'm like, "It's different. It's good, but don't expect
the same
thing because it's not gonna happen."
Yeah. So this, I don't know. I mean, it started out a little slower, I would say, and then I fell asleep, so I really can't say I know I missed quite a bit, but I think it's probably worth the watch. I saw a lot of hype about it.
Right.
So I'll let everybody know what I think whenever I finish it.
Love a good spooky show. Well, speaking of still scary movies.
Yeah, this is the scariest podcast ever.
Exactly. Number 1. Well, I have the scariest movies of all time, according to this new study. And basically, a research team who fitted heart rate monitors to movie viewers have determined the scariest horror ever produced.
All right, let's see if we agree.
I know. All right, and this says the team found the scariest scene is shown in Insidious. What am I going to reveal the most bad one? But what I was confused about is if they just showed them these movies that were like rated high or if they did more. But
Insidious always gets.
I know. That one's spooky too. Okay, I'll start with 10.
Okay.
This was a new movie. Talk to Me is number 10, which I heard that was so scary.
I didn't watch that one, though.
I haven't watched it either. I'd like to. And then Hell House, LLC. I have not seen that one.
No.
Number 8 is The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Okay.
Which I've seen. 7 is Smile, which I just recently watched.
What'd you think?
I liked it, but it wasn't like... I guess like the problem sometimes... for me is when they show the monster too much.
Yeah.
But I will say the movie was super creepy with like the smile. And I think it's like that uncanny valley thing that really gets people spooked out. But
I didn't watch that one, but
it's good.
On like the streaming, like when you log into your TV, you have all the apps and then they have like an ad on the side. And for so long they had that like smile. And I'm like, oh my God, let me choose it really fast.
That's why I feel like that movie probably was like really creepy. But I was always watching it like on my lunch break at work. So and there's like other people in there.
So it
wasn't like.
Isn't it so funny with scary movies? The environment is totally, because if you see it in a theater, it's extra creepy because everybody's experiencing it presumably for the first time, and it's dark, and it's like you don't know what's around
sound,
you.
The rumbling under
everything
the
is different. If you watch it like at home when it's dark, that's creepy.
Yeah, that gets creepy too, especially if you're alone.
But if you watch it in the middle of the day,
I know it's not like
laughable
until when you're laying in your bed. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I was creeped out, but it was the environment. Then 6 is Hereditary. Did you watch that one?
Yes, I saw that one in theaters.
Oh, did you? I think I just rented it like back in the day. That one, I liked it. It was definitely more of that like more emotion based, which again, I'm like appreciating those more. So I wonder if I rewatched that one, if I would appreciate it a little more.
That one like made me feel like uncomfortable and like not sick in a way that like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna throw up, but just like I'm so like it's hurting from the inside.
Yeah, there's like certain scary movies where they make you feel so gross and like just so like evil almost. Like even The Witch, or is it called The Witch with Anna Taylor-Joy?
That one didn't scare me though.
No, it was just kind of that like
it just gives you a really uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah, where it's like I don't know if I'm scared, I don't know if I want to cry.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Number 5 is The Conjuring.
Okay.
Which that one's obviously good mainstream. Then 4 is Insidious. Sounds spooky.
Yeah.
And then 3 is Skinamarink.
I didn't see that one.
I didn't see it. That one's newer.
Okay.
But when that came out, I, for some reason, just kept looking up all this stuff about it and why it's scary. And it does seem like it really captures that, like, being a little kid home alone and, like, just so freaky. And I guess the ending's pretty freaky. I won't give it away, even though I gave it away to myself.
Because you read it.
It's, like, good to stop looking at stuff. But I would have still liked to see it, though. Yeah. And then 2 is Host. I have not seen that.
I haven't either, but I heard that one was a scary one.
And if it's number 2, like, of all time.
I know.
And
number 1,
Sinister. Oh, remember when we went and saw that in theaters?
Yeah, we were scared.
That was torturous.
I know, that really was. That was the one. Well, we've done this multiple times, but I think that was the original popcorn bag in front of face.
I know, right? That one was so scary. Yeah. That was another one that was like felt evil.
Yeah, it did. That one really did.
Like I just remember when those like kids started walking in the wrong theater. We're like, get out of here! No. And then they laughed. We're like, oh, thank God, because that was awful.
We were like, they should not be here for this.
Just like that movie was freaky, man. I rewatched it with like my family, like in the house. And I mean, we were all like freaking heebie-jeebied up.
Like, I know.
Spooked.
I was going to say, I never watched it since we watched it together. I don't even remember everything from that film, but just the pure terror.
I know. And the editing and the music was like, and like the videotapes would like skip and like that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Did you watch the second one?
No, didn't you go to theaters to see that one?
I can't remember if I went to theaters, but I know for sure I watched it.
I don't think I did.
As good, but
you know, whenever they do a sequel of a scary movie, I just never think it is as good.
I know. I think it really I think The Conjuring 2 was really good. But after that, I don't know. And then one of the Annabelle sequels was really good too. But
what was this in Sinister when they it was like they were out in that barn. Yeah. And it was the scene with the rats. Okay.
Wait, wasn't that the second one?
Was it the second one?
I feel like it was.
Maybe we saw both of them
I know,
together.
Maybe it was us that were seeing. I think that was
when they had.
We probably did see it because we got so scared.
Yeah, you're right.
One.
We probably did. That was creepy. I remember, and that's still like ingrained into my brain. And I like tell people, I'm like, they used to do this. You know, right. This was a torture tactic.
I know, right? Or I always think about from Sinister that lawnmower one. Like I don't know why, but I'm just like, someone's gonna run me over with the lawnmower. So
there's
awful.
Something about just like a demon, you know, or like a haunting in a house that really, really gets you. I mean, even the classics with like Amityville. Yeah, Amityville, like a total classic. Or what's the one with The Shining, like where Jack Nicholson's possessed. Like there's something about that really, and it's not even like a full on like possession, because like those don't, like an exorcist like is scary, but it's not the same as like there's a presence in the home.
I know. I feel like those are the ones that really get me. Like obviously like jump scares will get me and stuff, but anything that has to do with like that kind of like possession-y or like just that really like paranormal, because I feel like, and some people probably think those ones are dumb, but just like that, I don't know.
Or when it has to do with kids.
Yes.
Like when a kid becomes like enthralled with the demon and then they're like murdering their family. Or, you know, that's scary.
You know what a good one was Chronicle. Did you ever watch that?
No,
I don't even know if that's considered horror, where he like they get those powers with Michael B. Jordan's in it.
Oh man, I should see it.
I know. Just saying. And then anyway, he gets like kind of like possessed, and it's like, or like gets overtaken by the powers, and I don't know. There's like something about that's like spooky, because it's like a evilness of a person.
I know,
and there's something really like scary, or like The Strangers, just like something that could like literally happen.
The Strangers is a good one. I remember watching that, and I watched it when I was in San Francisco, so nothing affected me at that point because I was already depressed. But I remember watching it like alone, like on my phone in bed, and it was just like, this is so creepy.
I know.
Like it really got you. But at that time, I digress, but I was in that communal housing place, so like nothing was really scary because I lived with a bunch of freaks, so that was scary enough. But yeah, that was a creepy one. There's just, it's like the scariest things though are like things that humans do to each other, and that sounds so cheesy to say,
but it may, especially like the older I get, where it could be like, oh, this is like a fun, like, I don't even know an example, but just like a fun Stranger Things type thing. But when it's like the older I get, the more like I'm like, wait, somebody could literally be harassing you and like torture you. Like Funny Games, that one's a really spooky one, or like the sexual assault movies.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
those
like,
are awful,
those could,
though.
I know. It's like, those could like fully happen.
I feel like any movie, whether it's like a horror film or whatever, whenever there's like a sexual assault or something in it, it has to seriously pertain to the plot, or else it's so I find that so inappropriate.
Just gross out.
Yeah, there's no reason for that.
No. I like the Lodge. Actually, I recommend, maybe that'll be my recommendation, but that's a really good scary movie. And it's kind of like these kids don't like their stepmom and they're out at this lodge and the dad has to leave and they start messing with her, but they don't know that she has like trauma.
Oh my gosh.
So it like backfires so bad on them. And it's like, does this horror, like just like a movie like that is just spooky. Like that could literally happen. It's like you don't know who you're with, what happened to them.
Yeah.
But anyway.
What was the one? It was on Netflix. Oh my God, I can't remember what it was called. There were like 2 or 3 of them. It was about this guy who was kind of creepy, but he would like videotape a bunch of stuff.
The Creep?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was about the creepy guy.
Yeah, that one was actually.
I know, it was
like,
spooky.
It was creepy.
It was, because it's like just like a weird person.
Yeah,
who's
and then
like
things got weird where it was like they would have that wolf head on, and you're like, what is going on? Like, it was just so bizarre that it was like terrorizing. Like, it was.
And again, like, it could happen. Like, it's so spooky.
Yeah, that was, or what was the other Netflix one, like The Invitation or Invite, where that was like for that dinner party, and then that one wasn't like a that was kind of a slower burn,
right?
But that was a good one too.
That one's good. Or like Would You Rather?
Yeah, like those. Those don't like really scare me. Right. There might be some like jump scares in those, or like, oh man, that was messed up. But like, I can easily watch those by myself. Right. Yeah,
they're more of like that. It's almost like its own separate genre where it's like it's horror, but it's not. It's like moral dilemma.
Yes, what the like Hereditary and stuff like that. Those are almost like psychological, like horror films, because they really get in your head. I think that's what it is. I like those.
I know. I like those a lot more now. Or even like Mother.
Yeah. Which I didn't watch. I was trying to watch that like a couple weeks ago, and then I think it's on like a random streaming service, and I'm just like, no, you can't get any more.
I did like it's like I hated it, but in a good way. Yeah. Like it was just like you were frustrated with her, and then by the end it was like, oh my God, like it just felt like, anyway, we don't have to keep going on it unless you want us to, because we will have a Halloween-ish episode.
But this is the precursor.
Yes.
So yeah, all this scary stuff.
Yes. All right, should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a little break. So I've been loving Golden Bachelor.
I know.
The one thing that I think was kind of a point of contention that I heard on a couple other podcasts was the feud between Kathy and Theresa. And I kind of wanted to know what you thought about that.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. Okay. Because because on that episode, there was just kind of a lot going on. I mean, like in my household.
When you were watching it,
in my household. So she was mad that the one lady felt the other one was bragging.
Yeah, Kathy was kind of upset that Theresa was bragging about the connection that they had and kind of getting into intimate details. Yeah.
Okay. Part of me was kind of like, I feel like that's actually, I don't think she handled it maturely, but it was kind of like a mature-ish thing to be like, you know, I don't want to hear about it. We all know what's going on. I don't want to hear about it. That's fine. Because it is like a weird dynamic where you want to be like, oh, we're friends, but we actually aren't. Like, we're literally competing for this guy. But I don't know. I do feel like she could kind of overreacted. It was like yelling at that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I listened to a couple other podcasts, and they were like, this is just ridiculous. Like, Kathy was just totally overacting. But I just don't think so. I mean, like you said, I agree that she did kind of blow it a little bit out of proportion. But But I feel like she was right to say, look, I don't want to know you're actually being hurtful. Because there were like a couple of the scenes that they showed. Theresa was like, oh, we talked about just traveling and we could go right now. And we both just said we have such a deep connection. And it's like she was telling a lot of details that it was more than just, our date went really well.
Yeah, I feel hopeful about it. Yeah, no, I definitely was kind of like, I kind of get why she's mad. I mean, especially not to be like because of their age, but it's like there is like a maturity there where it's like, no, like I'm like actually in this to be here. And I understand that you had a good time and you're feeling good, but like I don't want to hear about it because I'm also dating him.
Well, and I actually, like at the beginning, because Theresa had that diner date with Jerry. And that was cute. And I'm like, oh, Teresa's really cute. And then I think it was the next episode where we saw her kind of talking to Kathy about stuff. And Kathy is a little like neurotic.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, I actually felt like her voicing her concern or her like being upset, it was the mature thing to do. And then kind of when it got brought up a second time by Theresa is where she did get a little more stern. Which wasn't necessary, but I think she was also frustrated.
I think so too. And I feel like she too was like, I'm not gonna be made to be a villain.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I'm feeling. I don't want to talk about it. Like, be done with it.
I kind of think that Theresa is
that's the shorter one.
Yeah. Is a pick-me.
She's actually, I'm not gonna say it because it sounds mean. I don't want to sound mean about her, I do. Yeah, she does kind of like have this. All right, fine, I'll say it. She gets a little deranged looking, but I don't mean that. It's just kind of like this. She gets like a look in her eyes, and there's a couple other times where she was like, "This has to work out."
Yeah,
and it was just like. And scary.
Yeah, and I just felt like look out, Gary or Jerry. But yeah, I just felt like she was definitely playing the victim. And come on, she knew what she was doing, going to him and being like, well, I have to tell you.
I was really disappointed about that, and I thought he handled it pretty well, but I could tell. I mean, and we've seen this on like The Bachelor before with
all the time.
People doing this, but it's like, dude.
Because it's like you expect that with younger people.
I'd be like, well, I'm crying because but it was like you literally tattled on her.
I know. Just for speaking her mind and bringing up to you like, hey, that hurt me. And then Theresa was the one that went back a second time. And that was when, like, there wasn't a need for a second conversation, in my opinion. And I thought it really was like a slap in the face to Kathy when after they had their initial kind of like hashing out and then she was all sad and like cried in her room or whatever. And then at the rose ceremony, Kathy had her rose and was happy, and then Teresa's like, oh, well, he comforted me up in my bedroom. I mean, she knew what she was doing. I'm sorry. That was just...
I know. I didn't like that. And I don't know. I was thinking too, I'm like, come on, like, how old are they?
I know. It's and like, part of me doesn't want to believe that, like, Teresa's this manipulative...
I know, but it kind of...
felt a little bit that way.
I know. I'm not sure if I'm like a fan of her.
Yeah, I don't. At first I was, but now I don't know if I am. But Kathy went home, which didn't surprise me. You know who I really like is Susan. The short-haired one.
Yeah,
she's like a bigger woman. Like
she kind of looks like Kris Jenner a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her too. And she seems like a good time. Yeah. I don't know if I see her with him.
I don't.
But I think she's
had a make-out.
Like, I feel like she's kind of like the hot, like, spunky gal.
Yeah, she's a little spicy. like, she
might go
so
to the
fun.
fantasy suite.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the show, though. It's fun. It's heartwarming.
I know. I really enjoy it. And I really just like seeing, as dumb as that is, like, that age demographic. Just, I want to see how they act in these situations because we are so saturated with 20-somethings, 19, 18. And it's just cool to see how, like, oh, so we all are just kind of like little drama queens.
I know.
Like, I don't know. I just kind of love that, like, they all seem like they've kept their personalities.
Yes, throughout.
And it's nice to see just like not super insecurity all the time.
Well, and it's kind of refreshing because where we live, I feel like a lot of people, I don't necessarily mean this in like a negative way, but a lot of people when they get older, they just stop taking care of themselves. It's like we don't live in big cities, so people are definitely more sedentary, which I think plays a part in that too. But like it's refreshing to see, especially for us because we're women, like women that are in their mid 60s to 70s that are fit, they are beautiful.
I know. They're playing pickleball.
Yeah, they're funny. Like, it's nice to see that. It gives me hope that, like, you know what? Like, I will be that way and I won't be the only one. Right.
I know. Yeah. I like that too. I just really like it. You don't have to just crawl in a hole and die when you hit 40. Like,
I know. Even though I feel like I should.
I know. But we don't have to. So
I thought the pickleball thing was cute, though. That was fun.
It was cute. And it was just so cute because it's like that's typically an old person activity. And it was just so cute. I was really sad that one girl went home.
April. Because I was really sad April went home.
Or the one that was like, my daughter had a baby.
Oh, yeah. What was her name? Joan?
Joan,
yeah. They had a really great connection.
They did, and he was so sad.
I know.
Anyway, we don't have to keep going on about that. But yeah, I did.
I thought when April, she went homeless, she was like the hot one. Mm-hmm. And when she was at pickleball and like she fell and immediately I'm like, she literally just fell on purpose. But they played it up at first as if she didn't. And then she's like, all of you can just go back to what you were doing. And then in her confessional, she's like, I didn't fall. I was fine. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see them doing. I know.
Just like being dramatic and
just to get a little amazing time.
I know. Yeah. Anywho.
Special Forces. The best show on television right now. Hannah is a little hot from this episode.
I don't know if I'm ovulating or something, but what is going on, bro?
She is no longer a Tom Sandoval hater. It's official.
No, I am.
She sent me a snap with his bloodied face that said daddy.
You know what? I don't care. Anyway.
This episode was way better than last week's.
No, it was good.
She can't even concentrate.
I did. I thought Scandoval was going to quit, though. Like, it was starting to lead up to that.
Yeah, it did, yeah. He, well, I guess we can kind of go from the beginning because we jumped way ahead. The raft thing, I said this last week, but, like, this is why I like listening to Nick Viall's podcast, especially when they do Special Forces. Yeah, because he said that thing was super heavy.
I believe that it was heavy. I thought it looked like there's even water in it.
Yeah, it looked like that had stuff in it. Yeah, and then that they had to go really far, and they didn't tell them how far they had to travel. So it was like they didn't know, and the audience didn't even know. I don't think it even said.
I know. It looked like they just walked around, not even that far. I mean, we knew it was far, but like there was no actual like
there weren't landmarks that let us know. Yeah. So and then with the fighting thing, this is jumping ahead a little bit. He said that they did like 3 rounds of the fighting, and before they did that, they had to like run with all their gear on, and it's just those are the things that we don't see.
No.
He said that they ate basically prison food. It was just like boiled meat and boiled vegetables. So he's like, I'm eating like way less calories than I ever eat and working out like 4 times harder than I ever do. So you're just, I mean, I'm sure they were just all shredded after this.
I know.
But I mean, then they have to do all this extra running and all these extra things, and they're just so exhausted, and we don't even see that on the episodes.
I know, because it was kind of like frustrating. It's like I believed that this raft was heavy and everything, but when you're seeing them like I can't. My back is hurting. You're like, I don't understand like why you aren't doing it and stuff. But
so what was her name? Kelly? Is it Kelly Rizzo or something Rizzo? I can't remember what her name is.
I think it's Kelly.
I feel like it is too. I didn't realize that was her this whole time. And then I'm like, you're what's his name's wife.
Yeah.
What is his name?
I don't remember.
The one from Full House.
Saget.
Bob Saget. Yeah, I didn't like realize that. And then I think this was the first episode she even talked, really.
Right. That's what is kind of like, that's what I was saying from season 1, because I'm still working on that too, where it was like, oh, that was Beverly Mitchell. Yeah. It's like, I wouldn't have guessed that because I just wasn't expecting her to be on there. And it took them forever to say it was her.
Right. Or when they would have her little chyron at the bottom, it would say like TV host. Yeah. And I'm like, who is this? Like, literally tell me Bob Saget's wife.
Literally.
So I was a little frustrated with her because she's like, oh, I just get so down on myself when I give up on things. Right. And she's like, my back is thrown out. Okay. My dad has thrown out his back so many times. He literally cannot walk when his back is thrown out.
Back thrown out.
Yeah, I believe that your back is hurting you, but it is not thrown out.
And I was like that whole the groupings they did. I get
so
like
imbalanced.
That's what I thought too. You put the 2 smallest girls on one team, then Scandoval and that Tyler Cameron, and then the other side gets like JoJo Siwa.
Yeah.
What's
Bodie Miller, Jack
Osborne.
Osborne, and
Nick Viall,
yeah, like that was and I like Bodie Miller. I remember like when their child like drowned and how sad that was, and like how amazing of an athlete Bodie Miller was. But then seeing him in this environment, I'm like, you are a leader. Like,
I know
you are not giving up.
It is interesting, like from the season and the previous season, how the athletes almost don't do as well as you're expecting.
Out, except for Bodie Miller and the other girl that she's an Olympian. I don't know her name.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm just so surprised that, and I know they're not doing that kind of training. Right. But I mean, if Scandoval, who's not.
Right, he just jumps around a stage.
Yeah, it's like, and not that he doesn't work out or whatever, but it's like, how are they like doing the same exact, you know, or even Nick Viall, it's like, yeah, he's in shape, but how is he doing just as good as the athletes?
I know. Well, actually, it's interesting that you say that because someone asked Nick how like quickly did you know that you were on the show, like, and then your call time, right. And he said it was 2 weeks, so you literally did not have time to prepare. Yeah, because they're like, well, how much time did you have to like bulk up? And he's like, no time.
This is what I am. This is how I went.
But yeah, so that team was stacked. I felt bad for Tyler Cameron because he just was working so hard, and then he yelled at Sandoval, which made me happy.
No, I did like
and
that.
Tom just like throws his hands up like, pick up the stuff and carry it. You know what you're supposed to be doing.
And Tyler Cameron's like, come on, dude. You know they're not going to do it. Like, freaking help me, man.
And then when they got up, so Tyler Cameron's team lost, obviously. And they got up there and Tyler Cameron's like vomiting.
Literally.
Which was like gross. But I'm like, oh, let me just take care of you. Like, you worked really hard.
It was also kind of hot.
Then like I don't even know what they call them, the like drill sergeants or whatever. Yeah. And he's like crippled over and they're like, stand up. We need to see your face when you're throwing up. So he stood up and then just projectile vomited.
I know, he was like throwing up.
But it was, and not to be like graphic, so if you don't really like hearing, I guess we should have prefaced this, if you don't like hearing talk about vomit, then you should fast forward. But it was all just like liquid.
Yes.
Like clearly they don't have a lot of food in their stomach. You know, that was like so biley.
I know.
It was
and like, it was so much to be weird.
Oh, I know.
But it was just crazy. And that some of the like, I get like they're trying to be like, oh, it's really special forces. But some of like the stuff they say to them, like, you know, like that, just what you just said. It's like, it's not necessary. I mean, come on.
I don't mind it.
I know, yelling. You dumb idiot. I know, it just seems like weird though.
I should have written it down. It was so funny. The one thing that they said, like it was an insult, but it was just so off the wall that it made me laugh.
The last episode where the car thing, there was some pretty funny like insults. Like, what are you doing?
I know. And then their accents. Yeah.
I know. Anyway.
So then Nick said that the losers of that challenge, they had to walk. It was a mile back.
I remember kind of seeing that too. I'm like, they're really making them walk back. I mean, they're like not being
They're
nice.
not messing around. So then the next part was the fight. And they had them pair up and they had to like go. They had some combat gear on and they had to just go at each other basically. And everybody's was like pretty boring, except when it got to Scandoval and he like lost his mind in the fight.
I know. I was actually kind of surprised that like Nick Viall didn't do a little bit better against
I thought
him.
that, it seemed like he was winning. Yeah. And then obviously there's so much cut out that we don't see. And then when Nick said that they do like 3 like kind of mini rounds, I'm like, well, we saw like 10 seconds of their fight. But they were like, stop. And he didn't stop. He kept going.
Did Nick say anything about that?
No, he didn't. But it was interesting because they weren't like punching, like they weren't really fighting. It was just like they're trying to throw as many shots as they possibly can.
I know. That was interesting. I don't know. It just seemed kind of like...
It was just weird. It
was. And then they were like hitting each other in the head, which I just thought was kind of weird. Especially like with Scandoval was like getting his nose like broken. It's like, what is going on here?
I know. And then Bodie Miller and Tyler Cameron were paired up, which it's like Tyler Cameron, I think he's around our age. Like,
I think he was 30.
Yeah. And then Bodie Miller's got to be close to 50, I would think. Right? He must be, if not mid 40s. And it's like, there's a huge age difference there. And poor Bodie got beat pretty bad.
And Tyler Cameron is like
he's a big beast, guy. I know. I'm pretty into Tyler Cameron.
Whenever I see him, I always think he was like, you hooked up with Gigi Hadid. Like,
but when you hear him talk about it, it's so funny because he's like, I literally had no money and I'm going out with Gigi Hadid.
I had to borrow like $50 from my dad.
And he was on Nick Viall's podcast like probably a month ago or so. And it was really sweet. Like I think he's living down in Florida, which not the best choice in my eyes. Yeah, that's an interesting choice. He like bought a house. He's flipping houses down there and he's like so ready to settle down, he says. So I don't know, maybe we should like take a trip to Florida.
Just check out the scene.
See where he lives.
Just maybe run into him, but interesting.
Talk to him about special forces.
Like we're loving this.
Maybe he'll win, and then that can be our conversation
I'm really curious who's going to win.
Me too. And I want to even know, like, how do they choose a winner? Is it just that people all drop out,
right? Or is it like left to 2? Maybe they convince like the one, like, no, just like wait a little longer, and then they do like a thing where they compete against each other, and then that's the winner.
I don't know.
Can there be 2 winners?
I truly don't know.
Me either.
I do like this format of show because it kind of keeps us guessing. Like we never know when somebody's gonna drop out. And it could be 3 in one episode, it could be 1. Like we just have no idea,
right? And then like even Brian Austin Green literally woke up that morning and was like,
I'm gonna quit. He's done. Yeah.
Like, what?
So after the fight, and then Sandoval fought Jack Osborne because there's an odd number of people, and that's when he got all bloody. And he like, I think he lost that one, didn't he? Didn't he lose to Jack?
I don't. Did they say?
Remember.
I can't even remember.
I'm sure they did. I don't remember. But so then he comes back to the camp and he like starts telling everybody about like Scandoval.
And I know was like, I was like laughing a little bit because the one girl, the other Olympic, she's like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, she genuinely didn't know.
I'm like, wait, this didn't just destroy your world?
Oh, let me tell you. Like he loved telling that story.
And then people are like, why was that on TV? It's like, or on the news.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right.
And he's not even telling the whole thing. He's like, I just had an affair. Okay, it was way more than that. And then he kept saying, yeah, well, then she sold like all this merch. I know. It's like, okay, are you bragging about it?
I know. And then he was like, kind of like, yeah, your castmates did do that, Scandoval, because why can't they?
I wish that, like, and maybe they did, but they didn't show it. But like JoJo Siwa for sure knew about that. Nick Viall knew. Tyler Cameron knew.
I would have liked to hear them say something.
Yeah, be like, man, it wasn't like that. I know. Like, I wish that they would have spoken up. And like I said, maybe they did and they edited it out. But
and I feel like that they filmed this show, it seems like kind of right after that happened.
No, they filmed it in like June or July. So a little bit of time had passed. And then he goes into the, all right, we can edit it out.
Might be able to control it with the water. Let's try again. It's like it gets this thing.
I know.
Can't get it out.
But then they brought him back into like the chamber to interrogate him, and he kind of went on his little sob story again about like, oh, these months have just been so crazy.
And they were like, shut up.
Yeah, they're like, you're playing the victim. We don't need to hear that. But it was so true. I was so glad that they said something.
I know. They're like, get over it. I do. Or then he was like, oh yeah, like that totally makes sense now. But I still feel like it still doesn't click in his head. Like, I think he probably thinks about it selfishly from his point of view, like, oh, now everyone, doesn't like me anymore. Yeah. But I really don't think he like still doesn't get it.
I just don't think that he cares that much.
And then he's like, people were calling me a narcissist and blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
yeah, because look how you were acting.
It's like, well, we were all there. It's just so weird for him. I just still don't feel like he gets it.
No, I don't think he ever will understand it. And then on the same episode of Nick Viall's podcast, he was talking to, what's her name? Nikki Glazer. Yeah. Which I think that this probably is a popular opinion, that she rubbed people the wrong way in this episode, because she was like, she said she was going on his podcast after she was with Nick. And then she was basically saying like, why is this a big deal? Like, other people on the show cheated. And it's just so frustrating.
I know, it's like that frustrates me too. It's not about if other people did it. Yeah. Like, if you're talking about people that did it 10 years ago, like 10 seasons back, it's like they've all grown.
They should have grown. Right.
It's like you didn't. So it's like, it's like he just like, well, I'm not like the only. And it's like, oh, okay. So if everybody else is doing it, that's fine.
Yeah. And like, okay, even 10 years ago, like, when him and Ariana first kind of got together, he was like, what, 30? Right. And she was like 28 or whatever. Right. I mean, should they have gotten into that situation? Right. No, I thought, like, you should be more mature than that. Right. But at the same time, it was just, he was in a toxic relationship. They're on a reality show. Like, there were so many situations. And then now you're 40. Yeah. Like, there's no reason for that behavior anymore.
And then, like, with some young girl.
Yeah, it's just so icky. And then Nick said, I think it was last episode when I mentioned, or maybe it was the one before, where he said that he had this, like, full-on interview with him in the back. Well, this episode of his podcast, he said, like, kind of what they talked about, and he was like, I asked him, like, why did you do this, like, how did you grow from this or whatever, and Scandoval was like, well, I don't like absolutes, so I can't say that I would, like, never do this again. And Nick was like, this doesn't make sense. But then Nikki was like, well, I understand that, because and Nick was just like, it's about your character. Like, we all make mistakes, and we can, but the ideal thing is that we learn and grow from that. So if I had this huge thing happen and blow up in my face, like, for me, that's a lesson where I would be like, I never want to put myself in that situation again.
I know. And it's like, even if you don't feel bad for, Ariana, like him.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to at least know that, that didn't go in your favor this time. Like, you have to, I know. And I think too, like, and I know I've already said this, but it's like, we were led to believe one thing about him. And then to have that completely like flipped around was kind of like, I don't know, that was a big deal. It's like, you were basically lying to all of us. Yeah, that hurts the viewers. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's because you have so much invested in the show.
I know, and it's like, with Jax and Kristen and, all of them, it's like, they weren't lying about who they were.
Yeah, we knew who they were.
Right, so, and like, like Nick Vile was saying, it is like a character thing, and it's just, it is frustrating.
And just, Nikki was like, I don't know what situations I'm going to be in. Or I've seen situations where you're in a relationship for a long time and it starts to go bad, and then you go outside of the relationship. And Nick was basically saying like, but shouldn't you know not to do that? Like, there are other ways out.
Right. And it's like, it's not that you can't make a mistake again, and you can't make a mistake in a relationship again, but it's like, you still have to be like, I don't know, acknowledge the mistakes that you make and try to be better.
It was such a weird, like, discussion to have, or a weird perspective to have, because it's just, I don't know. I don't want to repeat my mistakes.
I know, especially one that big.
But yeah, and I guess like maybe I just think higher of myself than other people might. Think of themselves. But like, if I make a mistake, like, I say to myself, okay, lesson learned. Like, I don't want to do that in the future. Not, well, I don't know, maybe I will. It depends on the situation. It's like, no, you're supposed to learn from that.
Exactly.
And grow, especially with age and maturity and experience. So it was just a really weird stance to have, and how she was kind of like, and she wasn't just playing devil's advocate. It was literally like she believed that. And it was such a strange, you'll have to listen to it because it really was a bizarre
like, okay. Yeah. Don't be friends with you.
Right. Yeah, I know. That's kind of how I felt. But
anyway.
Oh, and then when he had his weird bathroom moment with Bodie Miller, that was bizarre.
He is a very, very dramatic. Like, it's like I can't take it seriously. And when people are like, Tomland or Tom World, it's like, he truly is like.
That's where it's like people pulled the narcissistic like trait out of seemingly nowhere, because it's like he isn't in the same world as us.
No.
Like, he is seeing things differently, and he is full on the main character. Like, it's bizarre.
It is bizarre.
He's just in the bathroom, like sitting on the toilet,
like kind of crying, but
and then like, and it's just so hard, like talking to Bodie Miller, and he's just like, yeah, man. I mean,
sorry, I don't know, but so it's a great show, though.
Yeah, it's a really good show.
People should be watching.
I know, people really should. I am obsessed with this show.
I know, it's so good. The editing's good. The people are good,
and I just love watching people being pushed to their limits.
I know,
it's really entertaining.
It is, especially like celebrity. Yeah, even though they're like whatever celebrities, it's still like you get to see them in this like,
I know,
unfiltered, just like crazy.
I know, I love it.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, should we go into our book club?
We should.
So I want to preface this by saying I kind of forgot about the loan that I had. So I had to do a marathon and listen to this 11 hours of this book in one day. But I listened to it at 1.5 speed. So I think I probably got it down to like 8 or something. But it was a full day of listening to this book. So some of the parts I feel like I kind of zoned out in, because I found it. Oh, I guess this is Hey Hun.
Oh yeah, Hey Hun. MLM book.
But some of the parts I thought were a little repetitive.
They were, and I do like. Part of me was like, okay, because she talks a lot about the conventions and keeps talking about them and stuff. And I think it was kind of like really trying to be like, no, like this is such a huge part of the world.
Yeah.
So it's like it kind of made sense, but I do definitely think it. I don't know if we needed every convention you went to,
right.
which I don't think she did. But
it felt like we got a lot of them. Yeah.
I know.
Or even just some of the like situations that were very similar. Yeah. And it's like, okay, we're listening to that again and your stance on that again.
And she kind of did this thing when she was telling the story. She would tell like a personal story and then she'd go into like, well, this is how it pertains to the MLM and the way they do things. And that part was fine, but that was definitely like, so the story would get kind of like broken up a lot, but it didn't like not flow or anything, but that was just kind of like a...
Well, you know what really threw me off too was I think it was when it was a new chapter, when she would have a quote.
Yeah, and when you're listening to that, I thought that was her story. Too. And then after, I mean, it took a couple chapters for me to like know that it wasn't going to be. Because some of the
things were so off the wall. And I'm like, not crazy, but just like, this doesn't pertain to what she was saying at all. Right? And then I realized it was a different person.
Because I guess she like talked to a bunch of people in the MLM. So that's why she, okay. Did you think she was a reliable narrator? Like, how did you feel about her as the storyteller?
I thought overall, yes, like as a whole, but there were definitely parts where it felt a little self-serving.
Yeah. I also agree. Or it was... But then I was kind of like, I was talking to my mom because my mom does the books that we do. Oh. So she did this one.
Why isn't she commenting?
Right question, Mom. Anyway, she was saying that too. And I was talking to her about it. And I was like, you know, it was kind of like that weird thing where it's like a celebrity where they're like kind of beating around the bush. Like we get annoyed when they call themselves a celebrity. But like they are.
Yeah.
So I feel like some of that, when I thought about it in that way, it's like, okay, well, she was like, got a really good recruit and was making a lot of money. Like, let's not beat around the bush in that way. But I could definitely see that rubbing like someone the wrong way if you weren't looking at it in that perspective.
Yeah. Or just like some of the things, you know, that she would say about her team or it was like, okay, I'm sure that you weren't perfect all the time, you know? And
it definitely felt like, I get like, this is a hard book to like, I guess like a story like this would be hard to not, I don't know. It's like, cause it was so weird because she really like got a lot of benefits from this, but yet she's calling it out and she kind of like addresses that too, where she's like, I know I got called out for this, or like, there's no, but I don't know. It does make it kind of a tough thing to think about when you're
it was I don't feel like there's really a need for us to go like in sequential order with this book because things just went all over the place, so I'm just gonna throw this in there. I can't remember what the author's name was, but when she
Emily Lynn?
No, I'm talking about Girl Wash Your Face.
Oh, yes.
When she
Rachel Hollis.
Yeah, she straight up called her
I know. Well, there was a part where she was talking about like these motivational speakers and I'm like, I bet this is Rachel Hollis. And then she did end up name dropping her. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And but I was kind of like, are you any different?
I know, that's exactly what I thought. Like, I liked that she called her out because that book blew up. And my one friend who coincidentally was a part of an MLM, read that book and was like, oh my gosh, you need to get Girl Wash Your Face. And I was so turned off by it. Like, I never read it. I just kind of read a synopsis and I'm just like, I don't need this. I don't want this. And then to come to find out, there was her whole thing was a facade. And like, I know.
I actually did listen to Girl Wash Your Face and then another one she did.
She had that second book.
On like the self-help kick. And like the book, I enjoyed it, but it was very, I'm not gonna, like, I enjoyed some of the stuff she had to say, but there was all that toxic positivity and like I'm better than everyone else. Right. And then again, we find out her, you know, it's like she can wake up at 4 a.m. because her husband's like the Disney ex-husband.
Yeah.
You know, and just like her, again, like taking money from people when her marriage, she ends up getting a divorce. And it's like, it was still very problematic. Like, is it good to hear positive talk
of
like
course,
for yourself?
But,
yes. But as a whole book,
But yeah, I liked how she did, and it did relate to MLM culture because a lot of it is the same. Mm-hmm. Like they kind of stuff you full of crap and then expect something good to come out. You know, like it really is. I guess just like that whole culture as a whole is fascinating because I know so many of the, and I wanted to write it down. What was that acronym that she talked about? That was like, it related to a cult.
See if I got it.
You've got a lot of notes on there.
Well, it looks
You know
like
what I find hard when we're doing the audiobooks, and it's different for you because you listen to it at work most of the time, but the majority of the time I listen to the book is in the car. So it's hard if I want to write something down. It's like, well, I don't want to text it in my notes right now, and I can't really grab a pen.
I can't. I thought I wrote it down. I guess I didn't.
Well, I can't. It was like blink, but it wasn't blink. It was something. I can't remember. I thought it was like 4 letters. But anyway, it was just like the different kind of like criteria or different things that you'll notice within a cult and how they get people, and MLMs do the exact same thing. So it's just like the language that they use, how they can manipulate the people that they're trying to recruit. They know the right things to say. They know when there's pushback, how to handle that. Like it was really fascinating to hear those comparisons, because I think we've had these conversations before without even reading this book.
Right.
And it's just like they suck people in.
I know.
And it's such a pit.
I know. And even when like some of the stuff she was talking about, it sounds good.
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
The MLM, I was like, this isn't so bad. And even some of the stuff where she's like, you're marketing yourself.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, maybe I need to like do some of this stuff. Like what's going on here? And the way they prey on, she really emphasizes this a lot, the way they prey on this vulnerable group, which is like the stay-at-home mom who's probably got, for her, she had 5 kids, I think she said. And she just like wants a little bit more purpose. And it's like her husband already makes pretty good money. Yeah. So she really doesn't have anything to lose or gain, even though she ends up gaining. But it's like they really just get, and even with like the female friendship parts, it's like you're getting all this like attention from other women, and they're so supportive and they want you to do good, quote unquote. Yeah. And it's like, what? I mean, that's such a vulnerable place.
I know.
To get somebody that was like.
And I thought of you, not necessarily because I think you're going to fall victim to this, but just from like the mother standpoint, because you did keep your job through having both of your kids, but there are so many mothers that don't, or they're able to not go back to work. But then the point that they brought up about like, now I've been out of the workforce for 5 years. Like, how do I go back? Like, who's going to want to hire me when I used to be in, marketing or accounting, and now things have changed. Like, that was so fascinating that they did look for those women, or I'm so busy with the kids. Like, I never meet up with other moms, or I'm never around other women. And then the women that they did have in their lives, they ended up like segregating themselves from them because they were bombing everybody with MLM content. And then they would just like cut those people out of their lives.
Like very Scientology.
Yeah, it was like, very like, oh, you're what is it? Not a submissive. A suppressive person.
It's like I can never remember that freaking word.
SP. Yeah, that was just honestly sad.
It was sad. Like and I do feel like that point that she made of that really came across well. Yeah. Like she's like, well, obviously I wanted to do this. Like I am this vulnerable stay-at-home mom.
Like I don't have a lot of mom friends or women friends.
And she's like, I just felt really lost as a mom, like staying home. She's like, it was really mundane, and her husband traveled a lot. So it really was like all on her. So something I thought that was interesting was how they would like pick people when after you got like in the MLM.
The
you had
list,
like the dirt
list. Someone who will buy dirt from you.
Like that is just crazy thought process. I know. So basically it's like, oh, well, I know my mom's going to buy something from me, so I'm going to sell to her and my aunts and my blah, blah. And I thought that was really like...
But it was funny how they said dirt list or your dream team, right?
Yeah.
And then when she met up with her one friend, literally after she signed, like that same night, and she was telling her about it, and her friend was kind of in this similar situation. Oh, she was going through a divorce. And she's like, well, I'm going to need some extra money now. And so she sucked her in like immediately.
Literally.
And then she's like, well, I guess she'd be part of my dream team. And it's easier than I thought to get these people.
And you're like buying these kits for like $500.
I know. It was crazy. Just like when you hear about like pyramid schemes and stuff, like you know what they are, but you don't fully know how they work.
Yeah.
So I liked how she explained.
She really did explain it really well, like the down lines and the up lines. Like it, because I know in... Even for me, it was like, I got the MLM thing. But when she fully explained it, I was like, oh.
Yeah. So it's like, say you were like the head of one of the divisions or whatever, one of the areas. And then you recruited me and your mom. And then we had to recruit like 3 people.
Right.
And then that's like 6 now. Right. So now you have, 8 people under you? And then like, if all those other people get 3. Insane. So then, but everybody is giving a portion of their profits to you.
Yeah, it's like you win. And
it's crazy.
It is crazy. And this one point, she gets like this hairstylist who is like, gets her
like an
whole
influencer.
Salon involved and all that. And she's just making money off of one of the...
so much passive income for those upper level people.
I know. And she's like, yeah. And she even said that she made over $1 million, but I think she was in it for 6 years. She did kind of, okay. So at one point she was like steadily making $30,000 a month.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Insane. And then she, but then she kind of did this thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way where she's like, okay, well, I made, whatever, like $800,000 a year or something. But then I had to pay for this, and then I had to pay for this party and my tickets, and you have to use all the gifts you get as income.
Well, yeah, which was crazy because I guess
I don't even that part I didn't even fully understand.
So it's like I knew that inside the MLM world, but I knew if you like won something, you had that is income, and you have to put that on your taxes because actually I got this like grant from when I went back to grad school and it was money that was just like given to me and then I had to put it on my taxes and it really screwed me over. So that was frustrating. So I kind of knew that on a smaller scale. But like every time she would win a trip or a, designer handbag, like that would go into her actual income. So maybe like on paper, she made $800,000 a year, but in reality, it was like, 500,000, which is still a lot, but those other things were like physical things and it wasn't actual income.
I know, it was like crazy. And then you kind of wonder too, you're like, so what's making you stay? But then you're like, well, you're still getting $500,000.
Yeah, she's still got a lot. And it was crazy though how she would talk about having to buy stuff from her downline in order to help them meet. So that was something where it's like she made the money on paper, but really she had to spend a ton to get there.
I know. Some of that was like, whoa.
I don't even know how you could keep up with this stuff.
That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, this is like just so, and it would be like monthly. You'd have to be doing this. It's like, how are you even keeping track?
And how great, because like a lot of the women that were on her downline were friends. Yeah. So like I would feel so uncomfortable to tell you like, hey Hannah, like, it's the end of the month. Are you going to meet your quota? Like, let's go. Like, I would feel so weird.
I know. You definitely have to have a specific personality type to be able to get this far. Or like that far in it. But I mean, my gosh, it was just wild. And then she'd be like, okay, I got past the end of the month. We had a whole
But now we got to do it all again.
It was just wild. And then she talked a lot about those like retreats or whatever. And she's like, they weren't actually retreats. We like worked to death. When you were there, you didn't get any time. You're like, you're thinking you're going to get these vacations from your kids.
And you're not. You're just in rooms the whole time. Literally. Or when like, okay, yeah, I get to go to it and they paid for this for me, but then I have to pay for XYZ or I have to pay for my team members to come.
Or if you get the car, you like have to keep a certain amount making or else that payment is back on you.
The alcohol thing was really interesting too.
It made me think about like the housewives and stuff.
Yes, but it really was from the get-go. I mean, they had them meet at this wine bar when they first got her kind of sucked into it. And they basically just like pumped her full. Well, they didn't actually do it, but the environment, it was like she had a few glasses of Prosecco and then, you know, it just basically went from there. And then she said she had to be a little tipsy to write those cringy messages.
Hey, hun.
Yeah, which I agree. Like, I would not be able to send those out.
I know. Because she ends up having like a pretty decent alcohol problem. And she said when she got more sober, she's like, it was so hard.
Yeah.
To then like signal out
and
to people.
That's when she pretty much like it was shortly after that she kind of stopped. But the alcohol thing was interesting because at so many of the conferences it was like, okay, you guys are going to go wine tasting and then we're going to have this dinner where you have, you know, free drinks and free whatever. So it was like they put them in all these situations where drinking was the main event,
right? And then you're going to these like after parties, getting like women are coming back at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, like it was wild.
It was kind of wild just to think of all these like housewives.
Wasn't the one it alluded to her like having an affair? Not her,
but the friend. Yeah. She rolls up and they're all like,
this guy dropped her off.
And it was almost like that culty thing too. It was like, don't ask, don't tell.
Right, like we're not gonna say anything.
No, and it was like nobody. I don't know. That part was just wild to me. And then there was obviously a lot of like, you know, like rivalries. Yeah. And like it reminded me so much of like that. Oh, did you sell what you were going to sell? Like the deranged smiles on their faces. And it's like, oh, well, I heard she's kind of a nasty little girl.
I know. Or like, you didn't make your quota this month? Well,
guess you just weren't working hard enough. Or is something going on with you? Because your sales numbers are not up there.
Typically, you're not performing this poorly.
Lots of that, which like is scary to me.
It is scary. I loved how she said, like, you anticipate in a workplace that like, oh, women are gonna build each other up and like we're competing against the men, right? But in reality, women are competing against women. And that, like, for me, I was like, yes, that is what it is. It's like so many people on the outside who aren't women, they think it is like, oh, they're fighting the fight of like equal pay, whatever. No, like women are not nice to each other in the workplace.
No, and she talks a lot about that and just like shaming each other and just like this horrible like
culture, which obviously in this instance with like Rosamund Fields, like that is, I would assume, and from her book, it seemed like it was a female dominated. Yeah. So it's a little more understandable from that standpoint. It's like, who else is there to compete with unless we're talking about the corporate level. Right. But even in general, it's like that still reigns true. Like in my work, the women that I'm working with, we're not even like in real competition. Like there's no hierarchy of like, I'm above you, you're above me. We have to climb to the top, but still there's conflict and it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. It literally doesn't. Especially when it's like, if you're all doing the same job, it's like, no, but like it's gonna happen regardless. And obviously this is like an extreme version, but it's still out there. Yeah. She definitely had a lot of good points about like women's relationships with each other in the workplace and as friends. And like, if you're benefiting her, then you're going to be her friend and stuff. But
yeah, the hierarchy and the MLMs were interesting too, or like the conversations that the higher ups would have with her versus other people, because she was a very high performing person within the company. Right out of the gate, pretty much.
And at one point, she and her friend like got really drunk, and like she said she was like sitting on some this like higher up guy's lap, and she's like, I don't remember it, but then the one
evil girl,
Kimberly, she is like posts the picture and stuff, and she's like, wow, like she was just like, dang.
Yeah, but it was funny because they were mad at Kimberly and they confronted her about it, and then one of the other, I don't even remember who it was, but it was higher up than Kimberly, like pulled them aside, and they were like, we don't even remember, like she never should have posted that, blah, blah, blah. And they're like no, we were just gonna congratulate you. So, but it was almost like they didn't care about that quote unquote bad behavior.
Right. Because she was a good seller. Right. So it was like,
and they just kind of cultivated that as a organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. At one point she gets cancer and they end up like
using it
to like get people, because I think that's how she got the hairstylist girl. Was like,
it was,
she's like, because this hairstylist is like, oh, proposition me for this, and she's like, well, I just like got diagnosed with cancer.
No, it was even worse than that. She's like, sorry, I'm just now responding to your post. I'm sure you've gotten so many other responses. I was at the hospital finding out I have cancer.
It's like insane
how she used that. And when she said she was an alcoholic, they used that too.
Yeah, they did, like towards the end and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I wrote like a book and everything about recovery. And they were so supportive about it. They made her like this huge big speaker and everything. And she's, I don't know, it was just wild. She's like, wait, you guys are using me for this horrible time, because she ends up getting like a DUI right after she wins her the car. Gets DUI in the car. just a rock bottom. It's not funny, but it really was.
I mean, she could kind of laugh at herself.
She definitely did.
Or when she did get cancer, and then they said like, oh, we'll do a fundraiser. We'll say that, 20% of everything purchased will go to this fund.
So did they, I was kind of unclear. So did they actually give to the charities or didn't they?
I think that they did, but it was one of those situations where it was such a small amount where it was like, okay, if I say like, I'm going to buy this, $20 face cream, and then 20% of my sales go toward for the Breast Cancer Foundation. Right. Okay, well, that's $4 and I spent $20.
And she did, because in the beginning, just talking about the products, I was like, I had like a question on my notes. I'm like, so are these products good? And she finally like kind of addresses that. And she's like, it's literally, they're fine.
Yeah.
But we hike the price up so high.
She's basically compared it to like, anything you could get at like a drugstore.
Yeah, like Target or something.
Which, was interesting. But that about like the, donations, I feel like a lot of places do that though. Where, I mean, because we actually, for my, the place I work for, they had like this fundraiser, and it was like, if you buy from, this restaurant, then we'll donate 10% like of all the proceeds back to this one organization. And we're us as an office, we're like, oh, let's do that. Like, we'll all get lunch. But then we realized, okay, so we spent like X amount of money. Right. But only 10% of that went back. So why did we it was just a way for them to boost their sales. It had nothing to do with giving money to any type of charity. It was just interesting how these MLMs just take advantage of that.
I know.
And again, it just goes back to vulnerable times in somebody's life.
I know. And at the point where they're in Vegas during the Vegas shooting and they're like,
yes,
here we go, baby.
They're like, yes.
Come get, we'll donate money to, she's like, and it's like she felt bad about it at the time, but she kind of was like, oh, that's what we do.
Yeah, like,
but some of that stuff is just like, gosh.
That was actually baffling.
I know. I was like, wow.
So they were literally like, you might have heard that we were here during the Vegas
literally used
to support
like
the victims. Please buy this eye cream.
Like, dude, that was
just crazy. Yeah, it was honestly sickening. Like, you are so warped in it that you don't even see how gross it is.
It was so bad, but let's see what else.
I feel like, I mean, those
we talked a lot about, she just kind of talks about too, where it's like they use God and like Christianity a lot.
Yeah, so
and,
this is the part where in this part of the book, it got a little like weird to me.
Yeah, she gets a little like because not, and then she kind of like gets into like 2020 and how COVID
political landscape. So this is what I felt with that. Everything that she was saying, like, yeah, I pretty much agreed with what she was saying. She's just like, you know, there were people who were basically extremists on one side or the other, whatever.
Which happened just in general, but she was really seeing it in the MLM community.
And this happened to all of us with our own following on social media. Like, we saw people and we're like, oh, God, didn't know that was how you felt.
That's how it was.
Yeah, it was a little shocking for all of us.
Realizing things, I guess you would say.
But it was interesting because, like, there was one, I guess, the straw that broke the camel's back where she finally was like, I'm reporting this. Like, they are literally saying these hateful things, basically, or untrue statements in the same post with our product. Yeah. And it's inappropriate to do that. And she reported it. And basically the response from HR was just like, oh, thanks for bringing it to our attention.
No,
and like
care.
Nothing was done about it.
Literally.
But basically, this is the part that I felt was a little bit self-serving because while I thought that everything that she was saying was like, you know, I guess I felt it was like the right stance. It almost felt like she felt that she had to say it in order to be like, no, I'm not an extremist. I'm not a racist. Like, she just had to get that in.
And I would like to say that I think I wouldn't have thought it as much if she didn't talk about it so much.
Because she went in on the white supremacy thing.
I know.
Which... At first, because you finished the book before me and we kind of like talked about it before. And I'm like, well, I don't really know what you're talking about. And then when I listened to it and I thought about it, I'm like, you know, no, this does make sense. Right. But the way that she kind of went on about it and packaged it, I guess, was a little...
where it's like, yes, I was... Because at one point she said she doesn't work for an entire year. She's still the top 5%.
Yeah, because she has all these people below her.
Yeah, so she's not doing anything, not selling anything, nothing.
Not posting, nothing.
No, and she is making that much money in this, but then is like, I don't know, because it was like, you're still benefiting from this like thing you disagree with. Yeah. But... I just felt like she was really trying to be like, no, like I didn't think that way. Even though I was making $25,000. Even though I benefited.
Yeah, but I didn't feel that way. Like I promise I didn't feel that way. I thought it was gross the whole time.
I know.
I did think just like, you know, this might be, I guess it's not a controversial thing to say because I think it is widely true. But when you think about the MLM thing and then you think about the white supremacy, the people that they're targeting are primarily like white stay-at-home moms. Yeah. And where do you find a lot of those? You find a lot of them in like Utah, probably like, Wyoming, right, you know, those states.
Right. And especially like in the Mormon community, which she brought up too, that they do not necessarily this MLM, but they do different MLMs and stuff. And it's like, that is that, or even like the Christianity thing, a lot of women stay home who are Christians. So it's like
it really
that specific.
And not to be like, you know, I mean, we've talked about our religious beliefs before on the podcast, but I don't want to cast everyone in a negative light. But a lot of times those people can have very conservative views.
Yes.
And where, you know, the man is the leader of the household and very traditionalist. Right. So it's like, I can definitely see the connection with the white supremacy and MLM. Versus when like you first mentioned it, I was like, this is a stretch. But then when I actually started thinking about it,
I guess because I was like, it just felt like a really like strong term because we always associate white supremacy with like neo-Nazis and like insane,
horrible
racist
people.
Like that, like genocide and stuff, where it would just felt like, I guess for me, when she was saying it in that way, it felt a little bit out of touch. But then if you actually look at the definition of white supremacy, it is when you're using it. But again, it's like, because we always have that like white supremacy associated with this when you're like, oh, if you're just selling things, it's kind of like a weird.
But when, like you said, if you actually look up the real definition of it, it does relate more than you thought that it really would. Yeah, that whole chapter, I think that part kind of went on longer than it needed to.
Yeah, I just felt there's too many justifications. It's just kind of like...
It was just like, again, every time she's like, okay, this happened, but not me. I want everyone to know.
No, like I was trying to put a stop to it. Yeah. Or like, I just wasn't even selling at that point. It was kind of like, but you were benefiting from it. Right. And I just kind of wish she would have been like, there was a ton of like politics going on.
Right.
A lot of things were happening and I was seeing people in a different light and I couldn't, you know, like I feel like something like that,
or even just being,
would have been
being like all of us. Like I didn't know that this was the undertone until these things happened and more people started, because that was what I think a lot of us felt like. We didn't know that some people had these extremist views until
2020. I mean, that was when we found, I don't know. It just like, that part just was kind of crazy just to keep like going on and on about it. But again, with like the targeted group of the MLMs and like, I feel like, not to, you know, pigeonhole anybody, but like if you're in like these Christian conservative groups, they tend to have a little cult undertone anyway. Sure. So it's all just kind of goes hand in hand with each other. And I do think she was good at kind of like explaining like, oh, that does make a lot of sense why that target or that audience is target.
And think about it too. Like the people that I know that have been involved in an MLM are not people of color.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this is what like I've said in the past about like the people that go on like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, and now it's like more diverse and they were like, oh, they're so white, but it's like, no, sometimes I think that the people of color have like a better outlook on the world.
Well, and that's what I was kind of thinking too. I'm like, you're not, and I don't know what, and I'm not defending MLMs, but it's like, you're not going for these, you're going for these very naive, white, millennial,
conservative
type that is just this prime target for it, where sometimes, like, I know I was saying this to my mom, I'm like, but like Black women are smarter than that.
Yeah, like they don't
Hispanic women are smarter than that. And it's like, and I didn't know how to say that, but I actually feel good saying that. Yeah. But I was kind of like, well, yeah, because sometimes whites be dumb
or like
bras.
These suburban housewives. It's like, yeah, there's a reason why like there aren't like women of color sometimes in these, because they just, even you see it in like the housewives sometimes, like the Asian woman or the Black woman, they're like literally looking around like, what is going on?
Like, hello. Or even when you think of like the family vlogger groups, you don't see
look who it is.
Yeah, it's like the these ones white women, their children. Like this horrible thing that they're doing, like exploiting their children, and they're white. And I don't know. I don't know why.
I know. I can't even.
White folk are so dumb to that.
Why can't we see it?
Or maybe it's because, I don't know, maybe we know we can succeed in it
but
more.
I guess
but I don't know. It's
where
just like
that white supremacy thing, I think, does come in a little bit, because it's almost like, do we think that we are elitist to others? We're like, well, of course somebody's going to take what I'm suggesting.
I'm a pretty white girl. Of course they're going to buy from me.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it is definitely interesting.
It actually gets more complex than you think it would be.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I know we were kind of like not bashing on her as a reliable narrator or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of interesting points that didn't even just have like MLM based stuff. Like it like made me think about just like a everyday life. And even when she was saying like the white supremacy stuff, it was like, it really did make me think. I'm like, why is it that way? Or like, why are these, stay-at-home moms that are white predominantly getting so involved with this? Like it just became like a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it was interesting. I just wish it didn't last as long as it did.
Yeah, definitely. And then basically, after she quits the MLMs, her relationships with her kids get better because they obviously got pushed to the wayside. And then she is able to rebuild some of her old friendships too. And I think she said she was only in it for 6 years, which is a long time.
She said her relationship with her husband was very strained as well, because it was like, she's spending a lot more. They're hiring a nanny. They're doing all this stuff. Like, it was a lot of just things that they didn't have to do before. And the husband was like, what are we doing? Like, this was kind of like a joke side job for you. And now it turned into this huge thing that you're psychotically working on in the middle of the night.
All the time.
Yeah.
I know. There's definitely a lot of that stuff we didn't really touch on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she was like, to say, I don't know. She kind of did earn some of it because she was like on that grind.
Yeah. I mean, she really went all in. When I kind of talked about my one friend who was involved in an MLM, I just touched on it, but it was that Monet hair product. And I just remember like when she first got started, and I think someone used it or whatever. Right. And then she got sucked into where it's like, oh, well, I might as well just buy this starter kit because, then I still get the discount and I get all these products. And if I sell to someone else, it's just like a bonus. Right. But then it's like you're a cog in the machine. Like, and she did not even realize that she was involved in a pyramid scheme. But I thought
just like, I'm making extra money.
Right. It was funny though, because when at the one like meeting or conference or something, one of the women kind of called out to one of the higher ups, like, well, what if somebody asks, how is this different than a pyramid scheme? And that was something we didn't touch on either, but they went into kind of the history of pyramid schemes and how they got changed to like MLMs, even though they're basically just the same thing. But, and where they kind of fed back this, well, pyramid schemes are illegal and we're not a pyramid scheme. And the one woman's like, okay, but what if somebody asks, how do we defend that? And then this higher up just got super defensive.
I know. She's like, well, then you don't need that person in your life.
Right. Suppressive. And that's basically not to that extreme, but how like my friend, when we're like, this is a pyramid scheme, she's like, no, it's not, because blah, 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 blah. And it was like,
it's still a good product.
It literally is like the same language that they use to just manipulate people. It's really like weird. And I was just thinking too, when you're thinking about like the different MLMs or businesses similar to this, like that we know of, to me, it's different than like the original like Tupperware parties or like Mary Kay. Right. Like I was never involved in those, but like back in the 60s, whenever those started, 70s, I don't know. It just really felt like it was for women. Like,
or like you're just like selling things. You're not trying to recruit people.
There wasn't such a like fascination with, well, you have to have people under you and you have to have a team and you have to do this and do that. And it's like, it was literally just, I'm going to have this party. I'm going to sell to my friends. That's fun. We're going to get together. It's a fun thing for us to all do. It's social, you know, and we get some makeup out of it. Right. But like now it's like, well, no, it's like in Schitt's Creek. I don't think you watched that whole thing, but there was, I can't remember what the product name was of the company, but Moira, her like friend or kind of rival friend in the industry, like sends her this box of this skincare product that she uses. And she's like, I thought you would be an amazing person to sell this. Like, you know, here's this kit, whatever. And it was funny. And she's like, oh my gosh, we can sell this to Schitt's Creek, this rinky dinky town. And so she invites all these women over and she's like, this is going to be such easy, like money. Like they're such gullible little women. And then the women are like, yeah, that came through about 5 years ago. I'm the top earner in our region. I'm the second. Like, I actually can't go any higher in the tri-state area. Like, literally all of them were involved. And that's kind of what started to happen, too.
And she's like, we're like selling overseas now because it's so saturated.
Or they'd be like, well, we're starting it up new in Austin. And do you want to be a part of the Austin tea? Like, that was interesting, but I was just kind of thinking back on like different examples that like I know of and how I think it has kind of changed a little bit.
I agree with that too. It's like, I don't know, and they turned it, but it also kind of came with this social media thing too. And she talks about like there's literally social media training, and it's like we just live in a different world. You know, before, it's like, it would have been hard for the Tupperware parties to like really recruit people. But now it's like, I can just get online and start recruiting people I haven't known. I don't know. It's just really.
You don't even have to have the parties anymore. It's just like.
Pop online.
Yeah, you just sell it online. Yeah.
But. Yeah, I mean, it was a good book. It was really interesting.
It was interesting. I wish that I would have been able to listen to it a little bit slower, but that was my own fault. I waited way too long, and then I couldn't renew it because someone was waiting. But it was good. I like hearing more about this industry and this culture.
I liked it.
Yeah, I would recommend. Yeah, it was a little slow at times, so I think listening to it on a slightly faster speed was like a solid choice.
Again, it was just because she chose her words and stuff very carefully when it came to the facts. Like she wasn't, which I appreciated, but it is like repetitive as it was. She's like, this is why.
Yeah.
So you will get a lot of that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I guess
give us any feedback on you got any cool MLM stories? You know?
Were you ever involved in one? Do you know someone who was? Like, what are your experiences? I would love to know. Well, as most of you know, in just a few, well, actually, after this comes out, Brittany's book will already be out. We have been a little disappointed because there's been so many things come out and like they're not even leaks, they're purposely being put out there.
And it's like I've stopped looking at a couple of stuff, but I mean I saw the juicy stuff and it's like I don't know, it's just kind of disappointing, but I'm hoping that the whole book isn't ruined.
I know. I made a quick little TikTok about it the other day, just how we were disappointed in that. And we wanted to be surprised when we read the book. But we're definitely going to read that one quickly. And we'll probably put up some little sneak peeks of our reaction earlier in the week, next week. And then you won't hear it until November 3rd. That'll be our release date.
Yep.
So something to look forward to. Do you want to do your recommendation first?
I am going to recommend the scary movie, The Lodge. It's very good. And I already talked about it earlier, so I don't need to talk about it anymore.
I'm just going to recommend the Fall of the House of Usher, even though I fell asleep during it. But I have promise. I think it's going to be good. And there's a lot of hype around it. And just the other two series were really good. So I have a good feeling.
Watch all those too.
Yeah, watch all those ones that we already discussed earlier. Stuff, yes, and the creepy things. Next time you see us, we'll be in our costume. Yeah, so you might not recognize us.
We might look totally different.
Like you might think Paris and Nicole are on the pod, but they're not. Don't forget to subscribe to us on all our platforms. Don't forget we're on YouTube, guys. Like we post this.
I know, if you want to see it more. I mean, you can watch the actual video
on Spotify, but it's also on YouTube.
Yeah, we have TikTok. Hopefully we'll be putting more
for tonight from Emo Night. So you'll see a preview of that. And then Instagram, we're on there too. So we have all of our links in our descriptions.
Yep.
You can find us. So thanks, guys.
Bye.